Hello everybody, I'm back again with another comic book review, and this one is going to be a little different than the others. As you can see, there is a giant gaping hole in the comics shelf right now, and that's because I'm going to be reviewing Bone, which is a really big series. So, Bone is a really different one, and like I said, this is going to be a different type of book. It's because anybody can read this. And, really, yeah, I mean, this was made by, or published by Scholastic, created by Jeff Smith. He did everything, except I believe he didn't do the colors. Yeah, it says in here, colors are by Steve Hamaker. Honestly, since we're on the topic of colors, I actually bought this version of the series, which are all the little ones, because of the colors and the page stock. There is a version of Bone you can buy that is the complete story, giant paperback, or there's also a hardcover, but there's a paperback, and it's really, really thin paper, and it's just the black and whites. So, kind of a bummer, because you really lose how nice the colors are. The colors are just done really well. It's like a nice cartoony, warm Pixar film kind of feel, and I really like that, and the color is almost like necessary for the story. So it's kind of something I didn't want to lose. As you can see, mine are in really cheap, cruddy shape. I just got like a ton of them really cheap somewhere, so I just kind of wanted to read it. I didn't really care that, and I wanted to make sure I had these versions because these are thicker stock paper and they have the color. So if you're going to buy the series, I recommend buying it this way. I don't know if it's really cheaper than buying the giant book. It's probably about the same, honestly. But this way you're getting the color and the thicker paper, and by thicker paper I mean it's easier to turn, and pages aren't going to get stuck together, and you won't see through the pages to see the black inks on the other side. But anyway, that's pretty much everything I have to say about the color. So I can now just bust through the story of this because it's really cool. Like I said, it's kind of like a Pixar kind of film that anybody can, pretty much anyone can watch, like any Pixar film. Like, who can't watch WALL-E, So this is kind of that same idea, except some weird things start happening later in the series, and I kind of wanted to talk about it in a video. This first one is great. If the whole series was like this, I would love this series so much. I mean that as in, something kind of changes like a little bit every book, and it starts to become a little bit more and more Lord of the Rings. You can kind of tell in snippets where you can hear Jeff Smith talking that he really likes that Lord of the Rings type of storytelling, and I keep seeing it and I'm like, no, don't do that, no, 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 because it's taking away from this great idea he already had, which is basically, this is one of the Bone cousins that live in Boneville, where everyone looks like these little white people. And Bone here and his, well, this is, there's Phony Bone, Smiley Bone, and, man, I'm forgetting what they call the main one, just Bone? Bony Bone. Good lord, I'm not even finding it. It's actually been a while since I've gone through it. Like, I didn't think he had a Phone Bone, that's it, it's written on the back. Because I was like, I already said phony. Okay, so those three cousins, they end up getting run out of Boneville for silly reasons, but anyway, they kind of get separated. And this whole story is Phone Bone by himself, and he goes through like little misadventure things where he's like babysitting some small animals and trying to run from, like giant rat creatures and stuff like that, and eventually he runs across a girl, and she lives in this valley area, and he's trying to find his other brothers. It's really enjoyable. I really like this one. I'm just going to go through these kind of quick, not tell too much of the story, and that's basically the idea of the story, is them trying to get back to Boneville. And the second one is them having like more crazy adventure stuff after they do meet up. The three cousins, they meet up in the valley, and they start doing crazy stuff, and it's still enjoyable. There's really nothing that I didn't like about this one. This one is still just about as good as that one is too. Don't really have any problem with this one because it doesn't really start getting really Lord of the Ringsy, I guess we can call it. it's really enjoyable. I'd say this one's another good one. You start getting a bunch of really interesting characters. There's characters you wouldn't really expect to be pretty cool. He's really, really creative. Jeff Smith. I would definitely recommend reading this. As far as I know, this is like one of the only things he's ever done. He's only done a couple like side issues of other stories. I think he did like a Shazam once. But anyway, I think around here, yeah, around here is where we start getting some of the backstory, and you didn't know that that girl was this type of person. Like, wow, or I was like a princess the whole time. It's that kind of thing. And it's just, I've just seen it done too many times, and it's not interesting. So I kind of try to ignore it, because this book is still fun like the first two, and still that lighthearted, ridiculous, not really ridiculous, more just comical. It's like the old cartoon. Not really. Old cartoons were kind of more offensive. This is just lighthearted fun that you can really give to anybody. This one is still enjoyable. As we start going to the later ones, like I said, some weird things start happening. Honestly, this one though, I remember in particular, this one didn't have so much of the crazy, mythology, I am a princess, we're gonna kill the dragon kind of thing. This one was more of that innocent fun story, but they're still being attacked by these rat creatures, and you're trying to learn about this main villain of the series, who is it's really similar to Lord of the Rings, and it's just kind of lame, actually. I don't really like the main villain, or basically, I only like the rat creatures, who are interesting at all. They're basically these big, furry-looking rat creatures, and they're comically stupid, which villains in something like this should be. Well, I remember this was the first one that I didn't like when I got through it. This volume, I don't know what it was about this one. This one, I just didn't like where the series started heading. I realized, great, this whole thing is going to be about them now trying to protect this girl because of some stupid, magic world reasons, and it started losing the innocent feel to it, and started trying to pick up a more teenage age group of trying to appeal to people who like the Lord of the Rings type of, not quite just adventure kind of storytelling, because this, basically that's what I would categorize this if it had a genre, but it's, Lord of the Rings has like a higher, you wouldn't show Lord of the Rings to a little kid. There's no like blood or decapitations in this, but I'm saying it's losing its innocent, awesome feel when it starts trying to tell stories that way, and some of the campy, super princess and dragon stuff just starts getting a little dumb. The only reason I say that is because I know it's made for kids, but the thing is, the first one was so successful and I really enjoyed it, the second one was really successful and I really enjoyed it, and then slowly, very slowly, it starts becoming a book that forgot what it used to be and is trying to be something else. The rest of the series, oh my gosh, this one's in bad shape. The rest of the series is really, it's a different story, and that's kind of upsetting, because you read the first couple and you like envision where this is going to go, and it just puts a smile on your face, like this whole thing's just going to be like some fun, cartoony, happy, not really happy, just comical stories of them trying to get home, and it isn't that at all. It ends up being them, I guess, doing these weird adventures trying to rescue this girl who ends up being like some, holy princess, and the grandma who was like some kooky old lady in the first few ends up being, some really important queen lady, and magic gets involved, and of course the villain has, they all have to be related. There's always some big, oh no, you're this kind of revelation, and it's more like an eye-rolling thing instead of a, oh, seriously? So it really starts going downhill, and it's upsetting. Though I do remember towards the end, after all that stuff that I was just like, oh my gosh, please just fix the series, it starts getting a little better because at least the adventure side of it gets a little more interesting where he was wanting to go with it. If you just get over the fact that, wow, that was really dumb that you happen to be this, and you happen to be this, and you happen to be this, that's kind of stupid. But if you get over that, they start getting a little more interesting after that. I would keep with it if you got through some of the thicker ones that I was just saying. After a while, this kind of gets back to like the Volume 2 stuff that was kind of fun, except they're in like a different area and there's still a lot of different problems and you're still dealing with a lot of the, you know, crazy, whoa, she's a princess kind of things and the other volumes that we were going through, but it's not as prominent. This one, Volume 9, this was a thick one. Now, it's not even going to tell me anything about this one on here, because I was hoping it would give me an easier way to read this. This one, I believe, gives you a ton of information on, like, the backstories, or it might not be the backstories. Maybe it's some of the other volumes. Yeah, it does. This one gives you some, like, mythology to their whole world, really, and you start learning about stuff that I'm like, wow, they should have known that, or there's just a bunch of really weird things, and it almost ends up turning into a war story, and I didn't really want that, you know. That's not what I wanted at all when I bought this. Which, I mean, maybe that's just me not knowing enough about the story, but if you read the first two and I tell you after reading that you're gonna get a war story for the rest of the volumes, you're gonna be like, oh, come on. But that's what you get. It's not bad, like I said, it's not a bad war story, but it's not really what you would have wanted out of it. That ninth one is the last one of the main story. This I have here is a side story thing. It's like after everything's over, couple like extra mini short stories that they were telling. I don't quite remember yet. Jeff Smith didn't do entirely the whole thing. This was just okay. I mean, it was enjoyable. I'm glad I still got it. It was pretty nice to at least have with it, because this is not quite as good as those first two volumes, but it's still kind of that same type of feel where we can just put the stupid war story and the princess magic stuff aside and just have more fun with this. There's one other volume of this I have, which is not in the main story. This one is Bone Rose, and this is like a backstory to the granny, that kooky grandma character, and you learn about all that stupid, you know, witchcrafty stuff that I didn't care about. The art is totally different. It's not Jeff Smith at all, though I believe Smith wrote it. It says Charles Vess did the art, who is really good in everywhere else I've seen him in, but he really doesn't fit Bone, like, at all. I had a really hard time even getting through this one, mainly because it is totally thick of everything I didn't like from Bone that I just wish I could yank out of Bone and just leave all of the enjoyable stuff in there. I really sound like I've been talking it down this whole time, but it's really great because everything that I still enjoy about these type of volumes still has the same feel throughout the others. It's just the main plot has changed significantly from what I was expecting, and it's not really that good. But the style of how it's told is still really great, and I enjoy that. I would recommend Bone to, like I was saying, I could recommend it to pretty much any age. If you just get the first one, actually that's probably a good way to do it. If you just get this first one and you enjoy it, one, if you have, you know, then you have the color version, and you'll be able to get the others if you really like it. And you don't have to, you know, get like the giant version and all of a sudden you're like halfway through you're like, this is dumb. I can't keep this up. But really, it's not that bad. If you like the adventure war story stuff and the cartoony, you'd probably really like this series. It's just, for me, I really wasn't in the mood for it. It was kind of campy at the time, especially this volume, the Rose one. Yeah, I would stay back from that one. Don't read that though unless you finish the entire series. It should definitely say that in there. But if you're interested in like the, if you like Lord of the Rings and you like Pixar, read Bone. Is what I'm trying to say, because it's both of those things at the same time, which they don't sound like they mix at all, but they do in there, and it is a little weird at some points, but it's still really enjoyable. I just kind of pulled these down for the heck of it. I have a couple of the packs of cards that they made for the whole series, and they're pretty much just like snippets of art from panels and things written on the back for story, and you're supposed to like collect them and put them in order. But I've only got a couple of them, plus they're kind of old anyway. So just kind of figured I'd throw that out there. They exist if someone really likes Bone and they'd like to find something else for it. There's actually a lot of extra merchandise you can find online if you want to take a look. So that's Bone. It's really better than I'm putting it out to be. It's an enjoyable read. Every time I put one down, I wanted to quickly read the next one still, so I don't want to say that it wasn't good. It's just, there were things in each volume progressively that made me go, I kind of wish that didn't happen, but I'll read the next one. And then I go, I kind of wish that didn't happen, but I still want to read the next one. So it keeps my interest, but it's just okay. It's just okay. I still want to keep it though. I still really like it. I still want to keep it. I'm glad that it was really successful at being a comic that didn't have to cuss all the time or, you know, just appeal to a certain specific audience. And I think that's what's really great about it. So you can let me know down in the comments if you read Bone and you have something else to say, because I sound like I've kind of trashed it. But let me know if I'm, you know, if I have no credibility here, or what do you think? I guess just let me know in the comments. I'll see you guys at the next comic review.